All right, guys, this is going to be number 31 in your notebook, and it is called Color Change Lab. This is the third lab in Labapalooza. And we're going to start off, as we have before, with a reminder of what the signs of a chemical reaction are. So the first one, which we already saw, was gas formation. The second one was temperature change. The third one is color change. And the fourth one is precipitate formation. We'll talk later about what that means, precipitate formation, but for now, just know that this guy right here, the color change, is the one we're going to look at today. Now, to look at color change, we have to talk about an idea that's called pH. You've probably heard of pH before. You may even have an idea of what it means. The P and the H, what they stand for, is actually kind of complicated, that we're not going to get into it right now, but it's a measure of how acidic something is. And as you might know, the pH scale generally goes from 1 to 14 with 7 in the middle. Something that has a pH of 7 is called neutral. And this substance will be harmless. You can put it on your skin, you can eat it or drink it, and it won't burn or cause any kind of breakdown of your cells. Very low pHs are called acidic, and very high pHs are called basic or alkaline. Now, examples of things that are right in the middle, well, water. Water is actually the standard by which the pH scale was created. So pure water is right in the middle at 7. Things that are mild, strong acids would be things like hydrochloric acid, which is stomach acid, or sulfuric acid, which is battery acid. Milder acids would include citric acid, which is found in lemons and limes, and acetic acid, which you might remember as being in vinegar. On the basic side, the strongest base is a substance called sodium hydroxide, or lye, and it's used in the making of soap and things like that. On the mild side, on the somewhat strong side, ammonia is a base. On the milder base side, milk is slightly basic, but not strongly basic. Okay? So that's what the pH scale is like. Now, one important thing that you should know is that if you add an acid to an equal base, you get something that is neutral. So this is called neutralizing an acid or a base by adding its opposite. It's sort of like taking a negative number and adding a positive number to get back to 0. Basically, you average together the pHs. So if you had an acid that was at 1 and a base that was at 14, when we average those, we get about 7.5. All right, now my page is full, so I'm going to go to the next page. For this lab, the question that you are trying to answer is, what is the unknown, an acid or a base? And so your hypothesis is just going to be one word, either acid or base. Now, unlike with the last two labs, you are not going to make your hypothesis before you start the lab. I want you to see the unknown in front of you before you decide whether it's an acid or a base. So again, you're not going to make your hypothesis until you start the lab so that you have a chance to take a look at it before you make your decision. After that, as always, is going to come the methods and materials, or materials and methods. I don't really care what order they go in. And for the materials, you're going to put those in a box. You're going to get that box from the demo that you're going to watch in a minute. For the methods, you're going to write out the steps that you follow, either in advance or as you follow them. For the data table, you are going to have a very simple data table, okay? So you're going to have the A cup, the B cup, and the unknown cup, okay? And you are going to write a description of the color that you get when you add an indicator that changes colors. And then for this guy right here, for the unknown, you're also going to write down drops to get to neutral. You'll understand why after you watch the demo video, but that's drops to get to neutral. Okay? All right, that's it for your notebook. Okay, guys, the demo for this lab is really simple. First, let's talk safety, okay? For this lab, you're again going to be wearing a lab apron and definitely going to be wearing your goggles. The chemicals that we're working with can definitely irritate your eyes if they get in there. So definitely need to wear goggles and a lab apron. Now, you're going to be presented with 4 cups. 3 of them are going to look the same on the inside. They're going to look like they have water. One of them is labeled A. That has a sample of a mild acid. One's labeled B, a sample of a mild base. One is labeled UNK. That stands for unknown. What's in here is either an acid or a base, and your first task is to figure out which one it is. The 4th cup is labeled IND, which stands for indicator. We're going to be using a chemical that changes colors based on whether it's in an acid or a base. This is actually a naturally occurring compound. It's found in plants like hydrangea flowers and cabbage, and this particular one was extracted from dried cabbage leaves. You're going to take a dropper that'll already be in your indicator, and you're going to add a squirt of indicator to each cup. The acid will turn one color, the base will turn another color, and the unknown will turn one of those 2 colors, and right away you'll know if it's an acid or a base. But that's just the beginning, because after you find out what color the unknown is, what type it is, acid or base, then you have to add the opposite to it to get it back to neutral. And you have to count how many drops of the opposite it took to get it back to neutral. In other words, if you decide that the unknown is an acid, you're going to add base a little bit at a time until the color goes back to neutral. Now you might ask, Mr. C, how do I know what color neutral is? The indicator in the indicator cup, that is the neutral color. Okay, so you're trying to get back to that color, and you're counting how many drops it takes. That's it. Cleanup is super simple. You just ask Mr. C to refill your cups, and any pipettes you use, you have to be really careful they stay with the cup they're supposed to be with, and they get rinsed out with tons of water afterwards. All right? All right, have fun.